Thank you, thank you. I am Suzanne Dornsmith, the pastor here at Cokesbury. Welcome, welcome. We are so glad that you're here tonight. We love to host the community, and we love to host CMPD. We do it often, and so welcome, welcome. You are always welcome here. We have some produce. One of the things we do here at Cokesbury is twice a month we have a produce market, and we had one this afternoon. There's some extra produce. So there is citrus and squash and some carrots out front. We would love to have no produce when we close up tonight. So if you need some fruits and vegetables, take them home with you. I'm also going to give a shameless plug. This Friday, March 6th, is our annual barbecue. Now, this is my first here at Cokesbury, but I'm told it's the best in town. I don't know. They don't lie around here at Cokesbury, so anyway, but we're going to start serving at 11 until it's done. So come on out if you're hungry around lunchtime on this Friday. I also invite you to worship. We worship right here in this sanctuary at 10:45 on Sunday mornings. We have 3 other congregations that worship here in the sanctuary on our campus, 2 after-school programs. We are a hopping place. So like I said, we love community here at Cokesbury. I would like to invite you to bow your heads and let us invite God into this space tonight. Loving God, we do give you thanks for your presence with us, with all of us, in all of our different ways of worshiping, in all of our different ways of gathering. Send your spirit upon this discussion tonight, and send your spirit upon this community, upon this neighborhood, and those around us. We ask that you would be with all of our officers, that you would strengthen them to do the work of security and safety in our community. And we pray for each and every member of our community, that you would help us all to thrive in this place. We pray. Amen.
All right, thank you, Pastor. Who knew you could pick up some groceries tonight too, right? That is absolutely awesome. This is certainly an anchor institution in the east side of Charlotte, and we are certainly grateful for the work that you do and the impact that you make that continues to lift our community to help everyone flourish. My name is Jacatrin Potts. I am the community care person for the Park Church, but also a business owner in the city of Charlotte. And I'm excited to be able to facilitate this third conversation with our chief of police on tonight. She has been traveling around the city to have conversation and to be able to answer some of the questions. Tonight, I will start off our dialogue with questions that will help outline what our chief's vision is to make our city the safest city in the United States. We want to be the #1 city related to safety, and she's committed to making that happen in partnership with the community, and we'll hear more about that. In order for this dialogue to happen, there's the Community Relations Department that's been a very integral part in this dialogue. If anyone's here from the Community Relations, if you would please stand and we may recognize you so people can see you. They're a very integral part to making this dialogue happen. And so we are excited about that. So without any further ado, please put your hands together and welcome our Chief of Police, Chief Patterson, to the stage. With you on today. 1998, you entered the police force, and from the police force, you rose through the ranks in Charlotte, went off to Raleigh to become the police chief, and now you're back in the city of Charlotte. You're back home, been around the city. What's it like for you since you've been back here?
Wow, it's wonderful to be back, and I've been on since 1996 as a police officer. For some of the officers in the audience, they're like, oh, she's a dinosaur. My husband told me the other day, he says, I think you had the highest code number of the whole police department. I don't think anybody is higher than me, so yes, I'm
96.
the old. Yes, sir, I'm the old one.
So if you wrote down 98, that was wrong. It's 96, yes.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for continuing to be a partner with us. We appreciate you coming out, really hosting these events and facilitating them for us. And I want to say a big thank you to Pastor Dornsmith. Thank you for having us, for opening your doors to us. Yes, thank you. I remember as a young officer back in 1996, 1997, sitting in the parking lot right out here doing reports because this church has always been good to us and is a place that we want to be. So thank you so much for opening your doors. And I say thank you to everyone who's come out today. This is a great crowd. Thank you so much. You coming out tells me very plainly, you tell all our officers that you care about your community, that you want to be a part of it and you want to help us with our goal to make Charlotte the safest large city in the nation. That is a priority for us. And we have a lot of our officers here, our command staff, our leadership. I do want to introduce them. You're going to get to meet them at the end to do some networking, but I want you to know that they are committed to being here, and that's why they are here. And in fact, I think this is the safest place in Charlotte right now because of all of our police that we have here. But I do want to take a moment to introduce my staff that are instrumental in a lot of our policy making, the decisions that go on in the organization. Cannot do it without them. So I do want to introduce my deputy chiefs who are here with me, starting with Deputy Chief Butler. If you'll stand, please. He's over our investigations unit. I have Deputy Chief Brett Bowmonkey, who's over our Special Operations Bureau, all the cool toys. And then I have Deputy Chief Zaru Chicory, who's over our Academy, our Wellness and Learning Bureau. And we have one other Deputy Chief Briley. She is out voting, but she is on her way once she does her civic duty, so we're thankful for her. And you started off by just asking me how does it feel and what it's like. I tell you, it's great to be back home here in Charlotte. This is a city that I love, a police department that I know. Everything I know about policing, especially when we talk about community policing, is from what I learned being an officer and coming up in this organization. And sometimes it really takes you going away to realize how good you have it. I left to go to Raleigh in 2021, spent 3.5 years with that police department. Amazing experience. I loved it. Really taught me how to be a chief of police. But it also taught me or made me see that what we have here in Charlotte is so much good. The grass ain't always greener on the other side. What we have here in Charlotte is just phenomenal. We have a great community that support us. We have funding to help us get the things we want to get. A lot of departments just don't have that, but we have that here in Charlotte. And so I'm very grateful, thankful to be back in the seat.
Awesome. So while the chief is speaking, there may be some questions that you may have, and the way that you can submit your questions is the QR code that's on the screen. If you could scan that, that will take you to where you can submit your questions. Type your questions in on the line and then hit submit. Those questions then will be gathered. We want to make sure we get all the questions that are in the room where we may not get a chance to get to all of them. As the chief continues to build her vision, she wants to make sure that those questions are a part of her consideration as she continues to work forward. So you'll see that QR code pop up every once in a while on the screen to ensure we're capturing your questions. You have 3 priorities that are key to this city, and one of those priorities that you have is reducing violent crime in our community. And one of the things you've initiated or started or begun is the work in our communities to keep it safe. But before we get to that, tell us about the crime statistics of 2025 and how the reduction of crime has occurred, what those numbers look like, and how you can break that down.
Sure, absolutely. I will say that it's the police job to make sure that the community is safe. We have that fundamental duty of ensuring that every single member of this community, no matter where you come from, who you are, that there's a sense of safety, that you can go out and walk your dog, that you can go to the mall, that you can go out running. That's what you do to be safe in our community. And I think that CMPD has done a really good job in doing that and reducing crime. We put out our crime stats for 2025. We put out our annual report that talked about the violent crime reductions, and just across the board, we've seen crime go down, which is wonderful. In 2025, we finished with an overall 9% reduction in crime. We saw a 21% reduction in violent crime, and then a 6% reduction in property crime. That is extremely hard to do, to see crime go down pretty much in all categories. Typically, if your violent crime is up, then maybe your property's down, or vice versa, but to see it on both sides is really good. And I certainly credit Chief Jennings and his leadership, and then the work that our employees have done for these reductions. I didn't come into the seat until December 1, so I was at the tail end of 2025. But 3 months into this year, we're still seeing reductions, which I'm extremely proud of. I'm gonna take a little credit for that one right there. But we are right now sitting at a 15% overall reduction In crime, we're down 14% in violent crime, and we're down 15% in property crime. We are trending in the right direction, but I gotta say, that's hard to do and to continue to see those trends go down. That's why we wanna have these community conversations. This is why I wanna hear from you, and also to give you a call to action and say, we're gonna need the community's help. If we want to keep our city safe and keep these numbers going down, we cannot do it in silo, we can't do it by ourselves. We gotta have the community being participants and helping us out in doing it.
Great, and we've heard about Operation Safe Season. I know you've recently rebranded or renamed it, but can you talk about the success with that and what it looks like for the rest of the city?
Yes, so I'll tell you, coming into this seat, we came in at a time last year where we saw federal agents coming into our city and operations happening. And as I observed that, because I wasn't the chief then, but as I was observing it, because I'm a resident of Charlotte, I live in this area, I want to make sure, again, that our community is safe. When we saw that, I said, you know, we really have to be intentional about being collaborative. We need to have all our partners at the seat to be able to mitigate crime and to make sure that we're just doing the right thing all around. So my relationships that I built in Raleigh, that was the same model that we had. We're like, the police department's small, we're short, we have all these various things going on. We need our partners. We really need to rely on them. So I said, let's do a collaborative effort, a multi-agency operation. And Deputy Chief Bradley, like I said, she's not here, but she was really the person, the impetus behind this. We said, let's get all our partners together, Highway Patrol, North Carolina ALE, Met County ABC, all our federal partners, as well as our resources that we have at CMPD. And let's do this operation where we really focus different parts of our city. We started with the epicenter, which is our uptown area, our center city, and we called it Operation Safe Season at the time. We did 2 events in December, back-to-back weekends, where we really just concentrated on that uptown area where we started to see some upticks in crime, where people were firing shots, when nightclubs were getting out, we were having shootings and those kinds of things. We're like, if we're going to really stop that, we've got to show people that we're serious about it, that we're not going to have these crime incidents. So that group, we all got together, we went out, we really hit it hard, and we saw valuable outcomes as a result of that. In fact, we did over 400 traffic stops. Highway Patrol did the most of those, but nonetheless, we all worked together. Over 400 traffic stops, 400 citations, 34 arrests, guns taken off our streets. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we know as community members you want to see and you want us to do as a police department. And we didn't stop. We did that in December. We said we're going to continue this. So now we have Operation Queen City Safe, where we're going to different parts of the city and doing the same kind of thing, focusing on those areas where we've traditionally seen violent crime. We did an operation in January in the northern part of Charlotte. We just did one this past weekend in southwest Charlotte. And again, same kinds of things. We're getting guns off the street. We're making impacts, writing citations, doing traffic stops, but also too, and this is key, because as community members, you say, well, every time you stop me, you're trying to give me a citation, you're trying to arrest me. We're also trying to educate. We're trying to educate the public about our laws, our ABC establishments, our nightclubs, about ABC violations, so that we can get voluntary compliance. That is what we want. Our officers are not just about enforcement, we're also about education. So I think that those operations is a good opportunity for us to do that.
All right, awesome. What is one thing you need for the people in this room to keep those numbers declining?
Yes. So for the community, we need your eyes and ears. You know better than anybody what is out of place in your community, what's not right, the things that are occurring. We need you to share that information with us. That's why we have our officers here today, our community coordinators, our division commanders, so you can talk to them about the problem areas within your divisions. They're going to know what they are, but we want to know and build that rapport with you. Also, you go out, you'll see the tables that are out in the community or out in the vestibule area. Those officers there can give you more information about specific areas that you're working in, some of the initiatives that we are doing within our police department. And when I talk about, what can you do as a community, I will share that one big thing, other than just being eyes and ears for us, we have a program that's called Connect Charlotte. And that is where you as a resident, if you're a business owner, in fact, raise your hand if there are any business owners in us. Okay, so we have a few, wonderful. Let me address you first. With Connect Charlotte, if you have a business, we're interested in connecting to your business. If you have cameras, we want to be able to have access to that, not to be nosy and to know what's going on in your business, but if there is a crime event or something close to your business, we can get that footage, one, to be able to solve that crime, or secondly, to be able to just get information so that we can have it about the area. We're interested in the cameras outside of your business, because when a suspect or somebody comes in and does something, they got to leave. They got to exit some kind of way. So we want to get that information so that we can pass it on to our officers who are responding to the scene. So those are for business owners. We want you to connect with us. If you are a resident and your home has a camera system, if you have Ring camera or you have CPI, whatever the case may be, we don't want your footage necessarily. We don't want you to connect necessarily, but we want you to register to let us know you have a camera, so that if something happens in your residence or around your residence, your neighbor's house gets broken into or something like that, and the suspect runs across your yard, that will be valuable to us, and the detectives know who to come to, who to follow up with. If those cameras are registered, then we can get that information pretty quickly when we call you. I do want to say with Connect Charlotte, again, it's not Big Brother watching, because I know there's always privacy concerns around that. It is more of us just having resources at your permission, because you opt in, that if something happens, we can get that kind of footage. So that is how the community can help us as well, by sharing that information and being a part of our Connect Charlotte. For more information about that, we do have a table out in the back that you can get the website and everything concerning it.
Great. So the first tier of your priorities is reducing violent crimes. The next is community engagement. So beyond conversations like this, what other ways are you seeking to, for members in the community to engage with the work that you're currently doing?
Yes. Again, it is when you have any information about anything that's going on in your neighborhood, we need to know about it. Also, to coming to community meetings like this, we want to connect with you. We want to know who you are. We want to just start building that rapport with you, so that we don't have to wait till a crisis or something happens to have that information. It is really important. Also, too, we want to connect with our faith community. That's part of the reason that we're hosting this. Thank you, Pastor. And we're here in this house of worship. We know that our faith community is the bedrock of our community. You have congregants, you have people that can share information. That is good for us. Also, too, we have a chaplaincy program where our chaplains get to provide spiritual guidance and counseling and help for our employees. I mean, that's part of our employee wellness, which is one of my initiatives. But again, it's just community members that we can connect and we can talk to. And in fact, I think some of our chaplains are here. If you're a chaplain, just raise your hand for me. I think I saw one. Pastor Gripper is here as one of our chaplains. But again, that's just another way for us to spread information, for us to connect. As a community member, if you know something, if you have information, we really are interested in knowing that and having you share it with us.
Awesome, awesome. You talked about the faith community. What about engaging our young people, the youth in the community?
That's important too, and we have youth programs. Traditionally, CMPD has hosted a number of different programs for our youth for all ages, for the most part. We have our police athletic league, we do reach out, envision, all these various things, but I will put a little caveat on that in the last couple years, while I was gone, some of those youth programs have transitioned out and they're under another unit within the city. But we still own some of it here at CMPD. It's important that we're reaching out to our young people. We have a table in the back also to talk more about those youth programming. But one thing that we're doing with our youth that I do want to amplify that I think is really important is our JADE unit. And it stands for Juvenile Accountability and Diversion Empowerment. Did I get it right, Captain? All right, good. And I amplify that, and I'm sure that Captain Wagner is going to talk a little bit more, because we're really using that in the uptown area in our center city. But this unit is really designed to really identify those youth who have gotten into trouble, who have had a run-in with the law, if you will. We don't want them to be in a pipeline where they end up going to prison and having all these bad things happen to them. So the JADE unit identifies those juveniles, and then they work very closely with them, with their families, to help them to get back on the right track, to go to court with them, to do follow-ups so that they don't continue to be in the criminal justice system. It is really important that, we break cycle, if you will. What I love about JADE, since coming back to CMPD and seeing that unit being stood up, the supervisors and the officers that are part of that team. Some of them I know from when I was here before. I hired a couple of them. I know that they are outstanding police officers. They care about the community. They care about these juveniles. So we're putting the best people to be in those units to work with our most difficult children, if you will, or our difficult youth.
All right, Chief, you up here cooking so much, I'm cooking.
Yes, sir. I
Take this
see
jacket
that.
off, yeah. I'm a little warm. All right. To get to your final aspect of your priorities in terms of employee wellness, what are you doing as it relates to employee wellness and mental health to support our officers who are daily on the front lines?
Yes, I think this is the most important priority that I have, and I've shared that with the team. I said, if we don't look internally at our organization, what's going on, we're not going to have employees to be able to do anything. It is important to me that the morale of the organization is in a good place. And I've been a police officer for 30 years. I know cops going to complain about everything. I get it. And so there are a couple things that we have done. Coming in, my biggest priority and the thing I'm working the hardest, and I'm leaning very heavily on the team, is we got to bring in more police officers. We have to hire. Our officers are tired. They're going from call to call. They're seeing a lot of traumatic things happen every single day, more than any average person will see in a lifetime. Also, too, we're being called. Our city's large, right? This growth that we're having, we're constantly hosting events in Charlotte, which is really tasking on our resources. That's part of the reason I'm bringing our partners in, so they can help us with some of this. But looking inwardly at the police department, we really got to fill our vacancies. We got to hire more officers. So I have tasked the entire police department with going out and bringing at least one person into the organization, recruit. We know better than anybody who could be police officers. So I'm asking the team internally to do that, but I'm asking you externally. If you know of anybody that would be a good police officer that wants to serve their community, a person of integrity, a person that has high standards, please recommend them, send them our way so that we can vet them and then bring them into the police department. So that is important, fill in the vacancies. Also, as far as morale and wellness, it's just the resources that we're able to provide internally for our employees. Mental health is important. When I became a police officer 30 years ago, sitting in the parking lot right here in Cokesbury, you didn't talk about mental health. It was not acceptable. There was a lot of stigma attached to it. You didn't ask for help at all. You coped with it. You dealt with it. We know that that is unhealthy. We know that that leads to all kind of problems within our employees. So we want to make sure that they have the mental health resources that they need. I'm so proud that we have a wellness team, our learning wellness team, where we have clinicians, where we have a therapy dog, and I keep wondering, where is Lottie? Can we get the therapy dog to come out? But just having those resources for our employees so that they know there is no stigma. If you need help, reach out. Just today, I was at our occupational health center, and I did a tour there, and I was blown away because the physician that's over it, the CEO, he took me over to the mental health building, and he says, we have licensed social workers here who are resources for our officers, that they can come and talk and get counseling that they may need. And they have a whole range of different counseling that they can provide. So that's just another resource for us. And then our police foundation, which I really want to plug because they do a lot of work raising funds for our police department for things that my budget doesn't cover. And I see Katrina Grau is here. She's our executive director of our police foundation. We have a fund, or they provide a fund, where if our employees want to go and get counseling for anything that they might be dealing with, whatever's not covered by insurance, they will pay the difference. And so they will reimburse the officer. So that is just wonderful tools in our toolbox to have to help our employees to make sure that if they have any kind of mental health issue or crisis, and you know, when we say mental health, I mean, we automatically think one thing, but no, this is making sure that all around, holistically, that our employees are taken care of financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. All those things are covered when we talk about the mental health and the wellness of our employees.
Well, at the same time, while they're in our issues in the community, they have their own family issues
Sure.
as well. And so I think another thing that adds with morale is when the community can celebrate our police officers. So if we don't mind for just a moment, can we just take a moment and celebrate the officers in here who show up every single day, the good, the bad, or the ugly.
Yes.
It's the good, the bad, or the ugly, and that's one of the things I appreciate about your leadership is your community engagement. Not only you're about accountability, but you're also about making sure we celebrate the great work that happens on a consistent basis with our officers who show up every day to do the work to serve our community. And as a part of serving the community, mental health is just not happening for concerns related to the officers, but also what's happening in the community. CMPD has come a long way in what you're doing. So can you talk about how we're responding to mental health crises that are happening in our community?
Yes. And just like you said, we're seeing it more and more within our community. We're dealing with a population that has a lot of mental health issues across the board. So we're not just internally facing, but we're public facing as well. We have CIT. Raise your hand if you heard of CIT before. Crisis Intervention Team trained officers. Okay, good. They have basic level of mental health treatment and intervention. So we have roughly close to about 700 employees in our police department that are CIT certified, and not just police officers, but also our dispatchers, right? When they take those calls, they know how to triage them, and they can provide some basic level care. In addition to that, we have what's called our CPCRT, our Community Policing Crisis Response Teams. We have 12 teams of officer paired with a clinician that go out on calls when called when somebody's dealing with a mental health situation. And CPCRT does the wonderful work of not just going on that call and just dealing with that situation. They continue to stay in contact with those individuals to make sure they get those wraparound care that they need, and following up with them, making sure they have their medication, taking them to their doctor's visits and those kinds of things. It's really a wonderful concept, something that one of our late assistant chiefs, Chief Vicki Foster, started up, I remember years ago, her talking about that and having that team, and it has been beneficial. We've seen that team grow from 6 to 12, and just yesterday we were briefing our council on it, and I think there's an appetite to even expand it more, just because of the needs in our community. But those are just kind of two ways that we're providing help for those who need it. We also work with the county. They have a CARES team. Again, those are mental health clinicians and behavioral health individuals that work with those who are unsheltered or those who are dealing with substance abuse or other kind of ailments within our community. So I think a lot of resources, but the thing is we need more. We just need more than that, and as a society, as a community, we just kind of have to figure out what that looks like.
Awesome. Want to put back up the QR code for the questions, so if you have questions, be sure that you scan that QR code and you're able to ask the questions. I have a couple more questions prior to us going to the questions that we're going to receive from the audience.
Okay.
For someone sitting in the audience who's thought about joining the force, you know, and they're hesitant right now, what would you say to them?
We're hiring, so I'm trying to fill a whole lot of police spots. So if you're just thinking about it, come on up here. We want you as part of the team. I would say to anybody that's thinking about it, and if you know someone who would be a good candidate, like I said before, we're looking for people who are devoted and committed to service. This job is about service. And anybody who's not in it for this reason, they're in the wrong place. They're going to burn out, they're going to be tired, because you have to have a heart for people to do this kind of work. And so it is an honorable profession. I would not be serving for 30 years if it wasn't. I retired in March of 2025. I would have stayed in retirement if this was not a good profession, but it's definitely a calling to help other people, to help mitigate troubles, issues, things that they are dealing with. And so we're always looking for great people to fill these positions and be a part of our team. Here at CMPD, it's important that you know, as your chief, that while we are hiring, we want to bring in the best of the best. It's not just about the numbers. I've told the team that. That's why I want them recruiting people and bringing them into the organization, because we know what it takes to do the work. It's not just, hey, we got to fill these vacancies and just put anybody in the seat. We want to make sure we're getting the right people to do the work.
I love it. Tonight, we thank you for sharing your thoughts. Is there any final thoughts prior to us transition to the questions from the audience?
Yes. I do want to say this. As we're doing these sessions, I'm so impressed with you coming out, being a part of this. I want to make sure that you understand that my position is we're working to make Charlotte a safe city. As we're doing all this community engagement and all this kind of work, we're serious about crime. We're fed up. We're tired, like you are, of seeing criminals go free, people get arrested multiple times. We're working very closely with the criminal justice system, meeting with our partners about how do we fix it. It's a system. It's not just one piece. Even though with Irina's law, the district attorney's office is going to get more attorneys, that's wonderful. They need that. They need more ADAs, but you need more judges. You need more defense counselors. It's a whole system that all works together. The jail needs more space. We got a juvenile detention facility that needs to be open. There's so many pieces to this. And so it's going to take time to address and fix everything. I think me coming into the seat as a new chief, we're going to fix all these things. Y'all got to show me some grace. It's going to take a little bit of time for us to be able to work through it because it's vast and there's a lot of things going on. The final thing I will say to you is this. I want you to know as a community that while our officers are doing great work every day, we're reducing crime, we're making an impact in our communities, we want to make sure that they're always doing the right thing. Accountability is huge for me, and I think that comes from my background in working in internal affairs. I always want to make sure we're doing the right things for the right reasons. And when we're not, I am not the kind of person to hide that. I'm very transparent. If there is an incident in our community, an officer-involved shooting, or something with our community, I'll be the first to release the body-worn camera. I've always been that way. I'm transparent about that because I know that builds trust, and that keeps us accountable. I'm going to ask you to hold me accountable. I'm telling you today these things that we want to do as a police department. Hold me to that. Remind me that I've said that I want to do these things so that we can serve you and so that we can make our community the safest that we can make it.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to transition to some questions from the audience.
Sure.
As the new chief, what specific initiatives will you implement to rebuild trust in communities that feel over-policed but underserved? And how will you ensure those residents are actively involved?
Yes, and so that's a wonderful question, and that's always at the forefront of my mind because I know probably if I poll every community member in here, you will say you want to see more of a presence of officers in your neighborhood or in your community because of whatever you're dealing with, and I understand that. But also, too, you'll probably tell me, but I don't want you coming in and just arresting everyone and throwing people to the ground and all these various things that we see sometimes with law enforcement. I agree with you 100% with that sentiment. And the way I think the initiatives that I would like to see more is that, one, every officer is a community officer, meaning in between calls, they're riding through your neighborhoods, they're introducing themselves to you, they are there for high visibility in certain areas. If there is a crime that is occurring, if something happens, then we're certainly going to take enforcement action, but we just don't want to come in and occupy your community. We want to be a partner with you. I think that is really important. Some other initiatives is what we're doing right now, having these community meetings, having these conversations, you telling us what the issues and what the problems are. In every one of our divisions, we have what we call community officers, community coordinators. Those are the ones that are primarily that are handling the situations or the issues that you have in your community, but still at the end of the day, every one of us is a community officer that can handle whatever problem comes your way.
Awesome. What is the relationship with CMPD and DHS, ICE? Will you all provide clarity on how we as a community should handle that relationship?
So I will tell you very clearly, and I think we've communicated this as well to the community. So our police department, we don't even have the statutory authority to enforce immigration laws. That is not our role, that is not our duty. We do have a role, though, that if ICE or Border Patrol, whoever comes into our community, and there is a breach of the peace, if there's a disturbance, you call 911 and we're coming as we would with any other situation or with any other residents. That is our function, that is our duty, and that's what we do statutorily, is that we keep the peace. I know that I wasn't here in November when they had Operation Charlotte's Web, but I've already started thinking, should Border Patrol come to Charlotte, how are we going to handle that? One is, I'm going to proactively reach out to those leaders who are coming into our community to know what their plan is. If they're coming in with a targeted list of MS-13 gang members and violent felons who are causing problems in our community, I absolutely 100% want to engage them. We're going to partner with them because I think we all agree we want those kind of people out of our community. However, we're going to set it very clearly to let them know, though, if you're coming into our community, we don't enforce immigration laws. So please don't call us and ask us to do that because we're not going to be a part of that. In fact, we can't be a part of that. Also, it's important to note to the community that you know that we work with our federal partners all the time, every single day. We just had a meeting with HSI today. They're great partners with us. We rely on their partnership. But it's very clear that there is a line of demarcation when it comes to the immigration enforcement.
Another question is, what strategies are in place to reduce repeat offenders and habitual criminals?
So repeat offenders, like I said earlier, those people are getting arrested over and over. We're relentless in determining who those individuals are. We want to make sure that we get them off of our streets, but we have to work through the criminal justice system as well. Our job is to arrest if there's probable cause on this individual. It's the court's job, and then we work with the DA's office for solid cases so that they're prosecutable. And then after that, it's up to a judge. It's up to a magistrate to determine what the end is with that individual. But again, we want to be part of those conversations. I have a monthly meeting with one of our judges that's over our magistrates to talk about what that looks like. I know from our officer standpoint, there's always that frustration of going to court over cases and they get dismissed and there's no resolution and all these various things. A lot of pieces, a lot of complexity there that we got to try to work through, but we got to do it in partnership with our other criminal justice partners.
This isn't one of the questions, but one of the things that seems to be highlighted for me in your leadership is your ability to collaborate across the lines. You know, how is that a part of your leadership, and what other collaborations are you making in order to shore up the system so those repeat offenders and other things aren't lost in the cracks?
Yeah, just open communication always, always, always. My team, we meet on a daily basis to talk about what issues are affecting our police department, what things we're hearing from our employees. When I got in the seat, we did a culture and climate survey. I sent it out to the whole department. I says, fill this out. Tell me what your concerns are, CMPD. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What do you want to fix? And so we've gotten the results of that, and I was very impressed that half the department filled it out. They told us what their concerns are, and then we're going to be forming what I call action committees, where members of the organization get to solve problems. Because I know cops like to complain about everything, but they don't want to change anything. I'm good, everything's fine as it is. I'm like, but wait a minute, you were complaining about it just a minute ago. So I'm putting it back on the employees to come up with the solutions, to help us figure out how we solve some of these issues and problems, and we have to do it with collaboration. We cannot operate just standalone doing it. We have to work with all our partners. When I was in Raleigh, I really took advantage of the opportunity to connect with our state representatives, with our General Assembly, because we know some things are going to take law changes. And so they're the body that does that. Working with our local, our council and our local officials, because again, if we're going to make changes, we need their cooperation, we need their input to be able to do it.
Powerful. Thank you. What are we doing to maintain Uptown with the homeless people, interrupting business, with them being aggressive when they approach?
I think there's been a lot of work in that area. I remember when I was here in 2021, and prior to that, we had a lot of aggressive panhandling in our Uptown. Since I've been back, I've noticed, and I walk through the Uptown, we've done some operations there, we're not seeing that level of aggression, so we're working incrementally through that. In 2020, unfortunately, we went through that whole period where we kind of were completely hands-off because of what was going on in 2020, completely hands-off, and a lot of our ordinances, a lot of our misdemeanor crimes were decriminalized. We couldn't do anything about it. I think our powers to be realized that that is detrimental to the community, so now we're back where a lot of those offenses are criminalized, which is good, which means we can make an arrest on it, and I think that's beneficial when we see that, truly aggressive panhandling and then the threats and all the various things that come with that, we can take some action with that. I think that Captain Wagner will probably talk a little bit about that because we do see it mostly in the Uptown. But I think the bottom line is for our unsheltered population is getting them the resources that they need. Those individuals come with a host of different things that they're dealing with, and so again, working with CPCRT, working with CARES, with all these various groups that are skilled and know what the needs are, and helping those individuals to get that, I think is the best thing.
Thank you, Chief, for your time. Can we give our Chief a great big round of applause? We want you to know that the dialogue is going to continue. At this time, we're going to invite Chief to introduce her staff that's in the Southeast so that you'll be able to hear from them and then be able to pose more questions. The QR code is on the screen for you to be able to submit your questions. So at this time, Chief, go ahead and introduce your staff.
All right, thank you. I want to start with Major Lim, who is our major over our Southeast Bureau, and I'm going to have the team come up, and then they're going to do their introductions. Is it on?
Testing. Can you hear me? All right, all right. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Gene Lim, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as your major of the Patrol Southeast Service Area. I'm just going to start a little bit of background about myself. I've been with CMPD since 1999, so not quite as long as the chief, but I am getting a little long in the tooth. I feel it when I wake up in the morning. And been here my whole career. This was my first real job, as some would say. I came out of Paul's College and came out here. I'm a lifelong North Carolinian, so I grew up in Gaston County, which is about as close as you're going to get to being a native Charlottean, but I am a native North Carolinian. My whole life I've lived in Mecklenburg and Gaston as long as I've been on planet Earth. I do want to take a moment, Pastor Dorn Smith, I got to call my dad because this is the closest I'm going to get to having your job. And as proud as he was when I became a police officer, this is probably, he'd be a little bit proud of that. I'm standing up close to the pulpit. So, but anyway, a pleasure to everyone that showed up on voting election day. I appreciate everybody taking time to be with us. Yeah, so, I've been here. I love this community. I love this area. As I get older, I turned 50 last year, so I really, you think in your mind, you could go somewhere and work somewhere else, but the more I get a little older, the more I realize home is home, and that's what this is. And this department, this community has been a home to me my entire adult life. I've got more years with CMP than I'd have without, so just really, really proud to be here. I have 2 daughters in college. They attend NC State University in Raleigh, so all my money goes to Raleigh, Chief, and we're excited about that. I have a loving wife. I've been with her for 28 years, and my cup runneth over. I'm just happy to be here. My career has been as a community engager. I worked for Chief Patterson when she was a captain in Westover Division. I've been a community officer. I've been a school resource officer. Got to become a lieutenant and come back to the Community Services Bureau and run some youth programs. So, I feel I'm an engager by trade. So that's kind of, I'm in my element here to talk to y'all and talk about our area. So real quick, without further ado, I'm going to cover some slides, and then you're going to have an opportunity to talk to my captains here, who are the commanders of your divisions here in Southeast. So if we could move the slides to the Southeast area. Okay, yeah, so this one's the population slide. It just kind of shows where we're at in our population. Do you have the one with the divisions, Willie? Yes, so these are your divisions, and if you look at the map, Southeast is the heart of the whole jurisdiction. We're right in the middle with Central. We come out the East Way in Providence, and then we kind of bleed out to the east side of Independence and where you're at today. Central Division, just to kind of give you a flavor, it is the center city, as Chief talked about. It's where we have all our entertainment, our nightlife, a lot of business, a lot of population going in there Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, and that's kind of where we have a lot of things going on that are high profile. Moving to Eastway Division, that's the salad bowl to suburb. You got, if you ride down Central Avenue, you see all manner of culture, people, community, living together. It's kind of the model to me, and some of the best food in the city if you want to patronize the restaurants there. Moving on to Providence, we have more established neighborhoods. We have Greer Heights, we've got Myers Park, we've got Dilworth, and then we have the South Park area, a huge retail and business complex, along with our hospitals. So, and then Independence, to me, it's kind of like a hidden gem. There's a lot of neighborhood, and this is a major thoroughfare right next door to us, coming out into the eastern part of the county. But a lot of our community engagement is run through here. We have our Promise Youth development program run right out of this division. Captain Abadez, Captain Abadez is going to talk about another exciting project we have coming online this summer. So just really, it's a genuine pleasure to be here. And the chief talked about everybody being a community officer. You're going to get to hear a little bit more about what my captains do, and a little bit more about them personally. But I'll say this too. As a major in this organization, you get to command and lead a lot of things. You get to lead personnel, you get to lead initiatives and design and implement them. And you get to do a lot of different things. You get to design policy. But the one thing I can't command is your trust. I have to earn that, and we have to earn that. And that's part of what we're doing today, you know, letting y'all see a little bit different side of the command piece, answer your questions. We can go through these slides some more, Willie, very briefly. In population, that central one's a little deceiving because we got a Hornets game tonight. You know, there's going to be about 20,000 people in the arena there tonight, and that swells it, or a Panthers game or concerts and stuff. Moving along, please. Yep, here's the square mileage. You know, again, I always know because I was a sergeant in Eastway when I first got promoted. That's 10.2 square miles of great places to live, work, and play. Central's really small, and then you got Providence and Independence at 19 square miles apiece. Can you move a little bit? Yep. We got schools. I was a school resource officer, and we have every manner of school, high schools and middle schools in our 4 divisions here. So that's just you know, something to think about. We have a lot of youth coming into our service area, and these are how the calls break down. You know, by way of citizen and officer initiated, and you know, so we get some higher call volume in Central and Providence, but that doesn't mean stuff's not going on in Eastway and Independence as well. This is my last slide I'll talk about. This is the breakdown of an average division. You have the captains or the commanders of the division seated right here, and underneath them you have 2 lieutenants. You have about 7 to 9 sergeants depending on the division. Central gets a little bit more that Captain Wagner will talk about because we have a bike unit and the entertainment district unit that requires supervision. Community coordinators, I was one for about 5 years in Westover Division, and you know, they're out here. These are your real everyday police officers that you deal with, and I just want to shout them out because they are doing the work every day, along with our patrol officers, our detectives, and our crime reduction units. We have 1 crime reduction unit combined for our service area. They work out of Independence, but they handle our entire service area. We also have the juvenile accountability, diversion, empowerment unit running out of Eastway Division. That's very important because they service the whole city too, but they're housed in Eastway. And Captain Wagner will go over some of the special things that he has in his division. So without further ado, I thank y'all. I'm going to sit down, maybe call my dad, sneak off and call my dad, but I'm going to hand it over to Captain Wagner of the Central Division.
All right, thank you, Major. And thank you all for having us here tonight. I have about 2 minutes to help you get to know me a little bit better. So this story right here starts in New Jersey. I grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is right outside New York City, the son of a police officer, imagine that, and my mom is an immigrant from Panama. So a lot of people don't realize that, but I have a huge family in Central America. I grew up there. I started in college in New Jersey, but transferred to NC State. That's why I have any Wolfpack representatives here. I met my wife in our 5th year. I was a 5-year guy. I applied to Raleigh, Durham, and Charlotte police departments, and I'm so thankful that I ended up coming over here. I actually, looking at that map of all the divisions in the service area, I started in Providence Division. Back then it was called Baker 1, back in 1999. And I've worked also in the Eastway Division, and I've worked my way up. For the last 8 years, I've been a captain. The South Division was my first area as a captain. Then I moved over to Internal Affairs, where I spent 4 years. I can't talk about that, though. So then I was really blessed to be assigned to the Central Division. Central Division is amazing. It's a great place to work. As you all know, we have the Panthers, the Hornets, we have uptown events, we have nightlife, we have businesses, banks, so many activities. It's super exciting to work there. There's never a dull moment. I have some of the best officers in the police department. I didn't mention that I am married to, my wife works for CMS, and I have 2 children. My daughter is a grad student at the University of Pennsylvania, and my son goes to UNC Wilmington. So my family still lives in this area, and we have a couple of great initiatives going on. I'm just going to mention in my 2 minutes 2. One is the Crown Culture Initiative, where we're focusing on those crimes that we're seeing that make you feel less safe in the uptown area. We're doing enforcement, and we partner with our district attorney's office. So anytime we make an arrest in a half-mile radius of the square, which is Trade and Tryon, we're being very intentional about making arrests when we can, and we're reporting those arrests to the district attorney's office. Again, we're trying to address quality of life crimes that make people feel unsafe in the uptown area. Additionally, we've added officers to our bike unit, so we have 6 bike officers. They are constantly engaging with our unsheltered community uptown. And we also started in October our entertainment district unit. They are focusing on bars and nightclubs to address violent crime in those areas, and they're doing phenomenal work. I hope that if you are from the central area today, that you'll seek me out after this meeting so we can get connected and you can give me some feedback about what you're seeing in your area. I'm going to hand it off right now to Captain Lucas Veith of Eastway Division.
Thank you, Christian. I'm going to stand so you can see me. So, as far as it goes, I'm extremely blessed. One of the running jokes is I've been serving since Saturday. Since Saturday, I took over the Eastway Division this Saturday. So, but I've been on the department for 24 years. I didn't start here. I was actually a volunteer translator for Arlington County Police Department right around September 11th, 2001. And then I had the opportunity to move down here, and I was super excited. I haven't regretted it since. It's been an excellent agency, and it's treated me well. Eastway Division has Isla Mall, which coincidentally is where I got my engagement ring in 2004. Still married to my wife, so that's also worked out well. So I've been a captain for 6 years. Previously, I was for 3 years in the Metro Division on Beatty'sford Road. I've been in community services as a captain. I just came from property and evidence on Friday. And so as that goes, I'm extremely excited because Eastway Division has the best officers in the department. Also, I will tell you, Eastway Division, the best food and the best culture in the city of Charlotte. I think we can all agree on that one. I'm extremely fortunate. Amazing officers, amazing community members. We have our schools. We have everything that makes Charlotte great is in the Eastway Division. As far as that goes, what makes me happy is, the fact that I can represent and be a member of this community because my son and my daughter, one's 15, one's 13. My oldest son, I worry about traffic because he just got his permit. So it's one of those where I'm with you. We need to make Charlotte safe, all of our roads safe. They are both fluent in Spanish, so they can communicate. We specifically targeted where we live and work based on that. My wife, however, she's half Vietnamese, but I grew up in a household that was, my parents were Lutheran and Catholic. Her parents were Baptist and Buddhist. So when my children are a little confused, I totally understand. But for that, I would say I'm extremely blessed. This department has sent me, just like the chief, just like the major, just like the deputy chief. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. But it is an opportunity for me to serve the city of Charlotte, to serve our employees, and most importantly, serve each and every person that lives in our community. So I appreciate it. I will introduce Captain Michael Abenanza.
How's this face supposed to follow up with that? I mean, he's so energetic, and Chief Riley accused me years ago of not being very approachable. Help me prove her wrong. My name, first I'll introduce myself, and then I'm just going to real briefly touch on a couple operations that we're getting ready to kick off in the Independence Division. My name's Mike Abenanza. I'm the captain in the Independence Division. If you can't remember Abenanza, Mike, Captain Mike, whatever, that works, that's fine. I'm originally from Northwest Pennsylvania, up in the corner just below Erie. I grew up in a small blue town, blue-collar type town, notice the last name, but I grew up with a very Italian, very Roman Catholic family, and it was a great, great childhood. My big thing then was playing hockey. I loved playing hockey, still watch our Carolina Hurricanes now to this day. Moved down here. I've been here almost 25, 30 years now. I've been in law enforcement for 27 years. Started a family when I got here. I have a lovely wife. I have also a 20-year-old at NC State that apparently we're all funding Raleigh. clearly. So. And then Captain Veith, I have a 17-year-old son who just now got his permit in life. Very scary. I got Lifey on there though, so I can tell where fast he's going, and and he gets fined. He pays me when he messes up. And I'm extremely fortunate to also have an 8-year-old. So I lost that argument. But no, it's great. You know, I got very, very, very family oriented. I wanted to move on, touch on a few things, and this is, you know, kind of piggybacks off the chief and the DCs. They've been very clear on many things, many things you're bringing to us, Chief. But one of them is, and she's mentioned, she wants us to be very visible, and she wants us to be very intentional about what we're doing. And a couple of things that we're getting ready to kick off in the Independence Division is this summer we're going to kick off an initiative of Cops and Kids, and it's a community outreach program geared towards the Latino community. We're going to have about 4 sessions, and we kind of wrap that up at the end of the summer with a huge back-to-school event, book bag giveaway, that kind of thing. The other one I wanted to touch on, and this will be kicking off here in the next few weeks, we're going to be working in the corridor of opportunity along, it's kind of on the edge of our district, so we'll be partnering with a couple other districts as well, but the Albemarle Central Road area, and like it's been discussed too, it's not just going to be, you know, we're not going to wrest our way out of any problems there. It's really going to be about addressing all those quality of life issues. So enforcement's just one of those things. There'll be many other aspects of it as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Hildebrand from Providence Division.
Good evening. My name is Tom Hildebrand, and I differ a little bit from these gentlemen here, and I'm a lieutenant and not a captain. Captain Jeremiah Blow is not here tonight. He's celebrating his 25th wedding anniversary with his wife. So, I'm proud to be here and represent Providence Division tonight. A little bit about me. I'm originally from upstate New York, and as I got close to graduation in college, I saw a lot of my peers and friends graduate and not have jobs. And I was committed to having a job when I graduated college. And so I applied up and down the East Coast for jobs. Charlotte was the first one to offer me a job, and I took it. Moved down here a week after I graduated college, and I started the academy, started police work, and I never looked back. Met my wife. I've been married 15 years. She's from Charlotte, and she jokes that the reason I'm still here is because I'm married to her and stuck here now, but all it takes is one snowstorm, and I'm reminded of everything back home, and I want nothing to do with that. I have 3 kids. They are 12, 10, and 8. And so I've been in the Providence Division now for about 3 months. And one thing that I learned very early on, and I appreciate about Providence, is the historic communities that are in there. And we mentioned, Major Lynn mentioned some of them earlier, but there's history there, and there's commitment. I remember attending one of my first community meetings in the Cherry neighborhood, and they were talking about a call for service where there was shots fired. And the coordinator was talking about how there was 6 different people that called in. And I stood in front of that room, and I said, you guys may not realize that, but that tells me something. It tells me that you guys care. The fact that many people called because of that one little incident shows that you care. And as I get ready to turn the mic back over to Chief Patterson here, I will say that I speak for everyone in the Southeast Service area that we care and that we are here to support you. We want to make this area a safe place to live, work, and play. And so if you guys do have any concerns, feel free to come and speak with us afterwards, and we'd be happy to get to know you guys better.
All right, just a few questions for the panel. Here's one question. The population within 10 miles of Cokesbury is an aged population. They are scared, lonely, and idle. Any initiatives or collab ideas to help seniors feel safer and more involved in the community? Yes. Church, where you at?
That is great, and I do appreciate that. So in this area, one of our biggest issue is, and Chief touched on some general crime stats, but it's property crime. There may be a perception of certain, certain violent crimes, but right now we are doing very, very good with our violent crimes. Some of the things we're doing is we're doing especially like on second and third shift hours, we're having very intentional sergeant-led initiatives where they're going into the neighborhoods, addressing certain like larcenies from autos or our auto thefts, which is our crime driver in this area. We've had very good success with that. When I first got to the division, we were also seeing some burglaries in and around this area, but we've got a very good handle on those and have been able to reduce those pretty significantly.
And for those who are saying that they live in this area and they're just concerned about safety, I do want you to see the captain afterwards to talk about how we can connect with you, with our senior population, so that you can feel safe. We want to make sure that we are visiting you and just kind of talking with you and touching base and understanding what your concerns are. And I do want to say, where's Major Tellis at? So Major Tellis, just stand for a second, because he is one of the people that's responsible for putting all this together. He and his team have been tremendous in helping us have these Let's Talk About It sessions. But also, too, I tasked him and says, hey, I love working with two groups of individuals or two groups in the community, our youth and our senior population, because we know without our seniors, we would be nothing. You have paved the way for us. So we're going to be having a senior luncheon around November of this year. Tori, you're going to plan that. You're going to take care of that. You're going to make sure that it happens for our seniors. And we're going to, what's that? Already in the works. Love that. And so we want to invite you to that. So stay tuned to that. We're going to put that information out because we want to join you and we want to get to know you better.
Great. What are you doing about traffic control, speeding in particular?
So Providence Division, as you saw, has the most street miles of anyone in the service area. And I see all those complaints that come in. So I can tell you exactly where those issues are. And so what we're doing to address them is there's several different initiatives that we do. I mean, in Providence, I can speak for us that we have a full-time traffic officer that is committed to stopping cars, educating, enforcing the laws. We have speed trailers that we can put out there. When there are complaints, last week I could tell you, right on Fairview and Providence, our motorcycle unit was out there. In a matter of 2 hours, we're at completed 120 traffic stops. The biggest thing is that one of my jobs as a lieutenant is allocating resources to where the problems are. And so sometimes I don't always know where those problems are, and that's where you guys come in. So if you are seeing things out there, let us know, and then we can allocate those resources there. But we are committed to that. Just help us out. Let us know what you're seeing, and we will do our best to help with those issues.
All right, thank you. One of the chief's favorite population, our youth. The 2025 safety data is good, but youth violence continues to be an issue. Do you have measures focused on prevention or plans to support youth-focused organizations?
Thank you for that question. I did mention the JADE unit working out of the service area, and one of the things we did a couple years ago is we looked at two different things, right? We looked at the crime and the impact in really trying to touch the chronic offenders of our youth, and the way we do that, we can't arrest our way out of this problem. That's been mentioned pretty much all meeting. But we have to do home visits, right? We've got to reach these juveniles on another level. We attend court. The JADE unit is in concert as of maybe the middle of last year. We also have a juvenile priority offender strategy team that goes to court. They spend their days partnering with the Department of Juvenile Justice, really trying to get into the home and speak with the parents and do those things. So we track that data. I don't have it, available to give to you right now, but I can tell you, but when you combine those two efforts of going after the juveniles that are really the very small group that are committing the most crime, and then you focus on the collective and do the holistic approach of home, court, school resource officers. Tori's got, do you still have 51 in 47 schools? 57, wow, okay, so you got more than what I had. But that's another piece of it. You know, we have to, we have to take the approach of many hands make light work. And, you know, having those different touch points in a kid's life is where we're going to get the most gain.
Thank you, Captain. Regarding ICE, you mentioned that you will work with them, but CMPD does not have the authority to enforce ICE laws. Will you provide agents will you provide crowd control to protect the agents from overzealous protesters?
So we don't have authority to enforce immigration laws. I just want to be clear on that. As far as ICE, and if they were to come down, Border Patrol, and there was an instance where we might have crowd control instances, we're going to come out. We're going to be a part of that because that is our function. If we have any kind of unrest or any kind of civil disturbance in our community, we have to be there to keep the peace. And so you can expect if something like that were to happen, that if there was a call made to 911, we would go out there, assess the situation, and try to come to a peaceful resolution. In fact, we did that back in November when they were here, and afterwards we had a lot of protests. We had people that were out in the streets in Eastway Division trying to take over our streets. We responded to that to make sure that we keep the peace. So that will be our role and the function that we will play in that.
Thank you. How can the community get more involved to help CMPD do their job?
All right. So it's been mentioned a bunch already. I can't tell you how many times in how many community meetings that I go out and I encourage people to call 911. Use that tool. You are our eyes and ears. We cannot be everywhere all the time. There's so many times that a crime is committed and we canvass the area looking for witnesses and people say, oh yeah, I did see that person go behind my neighbor's house, but I didn't think it was my business. Listen, I'd rather us respond to 99 calls that turn out to be nothing than miss an opportunity where we could catch someone. You know what? We love catching bad guys. If you didn't know that, we do. So just use that as a resource. Now, customer service is also a big part of what we do. So if we don't live up to your expectations, when you do call us, you can reach out to me or any of these captains here, and lieutenant, and we will follow up and find out what happened on that call. Because a lot of times, just like when we get complaints, a lot of times it's misunderstandings of the law or our policy. But give us that opportunity to provide you that feedback. Often people let these problems and they get angry with us. Don't let that happen. Call us right away if you have any concerns with our response. Yes, there are so many opportunities. I encourage everyone that's in here to go on cmpd.org. There's many opportunities for people to volunteer. There's too many for me to list, but take time, and there's a table out back on ways that you can learn how to volunteer. Thank you.
So if the internet is not your thing, make sure you go to the table, all right? Get signed up. Another question that we have for you, this involves the apartments community. What is CMPD doing to increase presence in the apartment communities?
Can only hide for so long. So as far as that goes for the community, it doesn't matter whether it's the apartment communities or the residential communities, it's that partnership, that back and forth. We have tables with resources, but if there are issues, please contact us. Eastway Division gets 1,400 911 calls for service a month. I would like to have 2,800 calls for service a month because we want to deal with, hopefully not everyone on their worst day. We want to deal with someone when there's an issue, maybe a progression, before it gets to something where maybe there's not a point of return. So that's one of those where we're here to solve those problems. We have all those resources. Like the chief mentioned, we have our community response team, we have our crisis intervention officers, we have traffic officers, we have community officers. We have all these resources that we are desperately wanting to put towards those apartment complexes. Let us know, tell us so that we can allocate our resources. That's one of those where we want to hear about it because that's our opportunity to help you. which is going to help us. I promise you, it's going to be exactly what we want. So thank you, and whoever asked that question, I appreciate it. That's a great question.
Thank you. Does your agency coordinate with local hospitals? If so, how?
So one thing that's unique about Providence is that we have the 3 largest hospitals in Charlotte all in one division. So Atrium Main, which is Trauma 1 level center, and you have Atrium Mercy, and then you also have Novant Presbyterian. We are in constant communication with them. We meet with them once a month, the security team's there. Our officers are communicating with through us on a constant basis to ensure that we are working in lockstep with each other. So it is a big task, but that is something that we take pride in the relationships that we have with those hospitals.
From a previous position I was in here too, and I'll attest to it, for Special Operations Division works very, very closely with the hospitals, regularly meet, make sure that they have active violence plans in place for both internal or what they're receiving as well.
Thank you. The next question is, what is the level of communication that is expected to happen between the police and the people who are victims of a crime?
Another good question. As far as that goes, the level of communication, half the battle is we listen. So I appreciate everyone being a part of this conversation, but that conversation is two-way. We will listen. So another press is that for the police department, we're constantly hiring quality, intentional officers who can speak the language, who can identify with the cultures, whether that's like the Eastway Division with more than 50 languages and cultures just in the Eastway Division. It's going to be practicando en español, ¿verdad? So also there's going to be the conversations we have. I literally called my mother-in-law one time and said, hey, we're calling someone out, and I want to tell them to drop the gun. And she said, Tunyalan, Tutalan, drop the gun. So people looked at me and they were like, I don't know what's going on, but he dropped the gun. This worked out really smoothly. So when it comes to communicating with the victims, it's having that patience, having that training, having that understanding, having that empathy where we can identify, but also listening and listening to what the problem is. I might think I'm solving the problem. I'm going to listen, and our officers are going to listen and find out what that problem is to try to solve what the actual problem is. That, I believe, having that empathy and listening, that communication is the key to good police work and making Charlotte safe.
And I also add, if you're a victim, especially of a traumatic crime, a violent crime, we have a victim support group for like our homicide victims' families that you can join. You will be there with other people who are going through the same thing, and we have counselors for that is a part of that team. So if you know anybody that is dealing with traumatic injury like that or a situation, we definitely have a team that can help them.
Next question. Is there any way traffic cameras will come back? Cameras that will cause tickets to be issued? That's the state legislator.
There's actually been some conversation about that from our council. I think are we doing a pilot or something? Maybe thinking about it. That has come up. I think it's still in discussion, though, whether or not we want to have it. Be careful what you ask for.
In addition to school resource officers, how are you partnering with schools to help increase safety on campuses?
Hey, good evening, everyone. So in addition to our 57 school resource officers, we have our youth programs that actually tap into the majority of the schools that we do cover. And a lot of those youth programs that the chief had mentioned earlier, like PAL, Envision, Reach, programs to show them everything about the city that they call home, not only on the basis of education, academics, or extra curriculum, but potential for their futures, for those that choose not to go to college, for those exposing them to job and career opportunities as they grow and go through high school, and some of them step out and step right into a career, and then those that actually leave the city of Charlotte and then come back because their home has everything that they need. And I think one of them mentioned earlier, like, this is home for them, but to know that your home fills you with every single thing that you need at every level and every stage, to get it from a young child all the way into stepping into your adulthood, that says a lot. So those are some of the aspects that we like to present from CMPD side into our kids within CMS.
Absolutely awesome, and it just brings back memories of me. Any Charlotteans in the building from Charlotte? All right, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I'm a native Charlottean, and got a chance to participate in the PAL football program growing up as a young boy, and so much pride to put that helmet on, that oversized jersey. You couldn't tell me nothing, right? It was so amazing, but one of the things that was necessary, somebody had to get me there. So it's one thing to offer programs, but it's another thing to make sure children get transportation to get there. And that's where community support is absolutely vital. Thank you all for submitting your questions. We're about to wrap up for tonight. Our chief has something she's going to do with us. Can we give her a great big round of applause? Let's applaud for our leaders in the South. Way to go. Hope you've been listening. You're about to get quizzed after the chief is done. Please be sure to network tonight, talk to each other, support each other, get to the tables, get to the captains, so we can make sure we build this relationship and tighten it up.
Thank you, Minister Potts. First, I want to acknowledge some people in the room that are supporting us. I see one of our council members in the back there, Council Member Aries. Thank you, sir, for being here. Additionally, we have one of our retired deputy chiefs, KD. Hey, KD Williams. Chief Williams, if you'll just stand and be recognized. Thank you, sir. Do we have members of our Civil Service Board or former member of our Civil Service Board that's with us as well? Thank you for being here. And I'll take a point of personal privilege to point out my husband who is here, Lance Patterson. Huge supporter of CMPD, huge supporter of the work that we're doing here. When I was in Raleigh, he used to come to Raleigh and just buy lunch or dinner for the officers. They had no clue who he was, but he would just show up and do that. So thank you for being here, supporting us, and supporting the work. All right, so we shared a lot of information with you tonight. We hope you got something out of it, that you were able to learn a little bit more about your respective areas. You know who your leaders are in those areas. Please make sure, as Minister Potts says, that you come up and talk with them afterwards. And also, too, I would like to meet you. But I want to see how well you were paying attention. So, we have a quiz. You got to raise your hand when I ask the question. Say, raise your hand. Okay, good. We have to make sure that you're paying attention and that you know the rules. First question, I talked about my 3 priorities that I have for the city. Somebody tell me what one of those priorities are. Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. Employee morale and wellness. Very good for you. Yes, ma'am. One of the 3 priorities. Community engagement and reducing violent crime is the other one. And we know, if you're watching the news, I think we're in a war, maybe something, I don't know, with the Middle East. So gas prices are going up. So we want to give you a little something because you got that right. Also, please raise your hand. Tell me, how is a way that you can serve and help us, we do at this police department? Yes, I like that one. I like that one. Yes, ma'am, with the pink hoodie. Ooh, yes. Oh, she was paying attention. She said connect Charlotte or register your cameras. Have a home camera system. Go to connectcharlotte.com and sign it up. Wonderful. She was really paying attention. All right. One of our wonderful speakers up here, habla español. Which one of our captains habla español? Yes, sir. He's my new captain, but he's saying I don't remember. Captain V, stand up so they know who you are. He is fluent in Spanish, correct? Thereabouts? Yeah. So, and that helps out in Eastway, being there. That's going to be a huge asset to that area. All right, I talked about the CPCRT teams. Remember the Community Policing Crisis Response Team? That's our mental health teams. that's paired with an officer and a clinician. Can somebody tell me how many teams we have across Charlotte? Raise your hand. Yes, sir. How many? A little bit more. I'm going to give you half credit. A little bit more. A little bit. Yes, sir. 12. 12. But good effort. So, Captain, do we have something for both of them? Great job. Great job. All right. Last question is a two-part question. So listen very closely. Two-part question. How many patrol divisions do we have? And which division do you live in? Two-part question. How many patrol divisions? Maybe somebody knows about CMPD. All right, this brother right here going to take a chance and see. 4, this city is 1 million people. We're going to have more than 4 divisions because we just, I don't even think we told you, but maybe somebody knows. Somebody knows. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Yes, ma'am. 5, a little bit more, keep going. Who else? 11, you're getting closer. You're getting hot. Oh, okay, back here. All right, who do we have? Yes. Yes. Ooh, you are smart. Yes, ma'am. 14. Excellent. 1 million people. 14. That's it. Wonderful. And Mom, where do y'all live? South. In South Division? Awesome. Very good. Division. Give her a hand. That's outstanding. Outstanding. Again, thank you all for coming out, for being a part of this community, for being active. As all of our leaders said, we want to hear from you. We want you to be engaged in any way that you can. We appreciate you so much, and I think we'll just close out. Do you want to close this out, Mr. Potts?
Well, once again, we are so thankful for our police officers and the work that you do. Please make sure you get up and engage with these great officers in our community and at the tables so we can continue this great dialogue. God bless you. Have a great night.